Pranams everyone. Hello. This is a notes, some self-study notes of the Heartfulness Collector's Edition December 19 magazine, Yogic Psychology, which was got from the Kanha Shanti Vanam at Hyderabad, and the when we all were attending the um, transformational spiritual retreat program, Designing Destiny Through Heartfulness, um, during Feb 2020. So there's wealth of information in the magazine, and when it was when went through, just wanted to make small short notes so that it helps in the self study. And this is just a very small percentage of the wealth of information and knowledge and divine knowledge that's present in the magazine. But it's just an attempt to make crisp notes so that it helps us in the spiritual journey and for self study. So just sharing it for the benefit of all. This does not cover the whole information and knowledge there. It's just a small percentage, and we should. This is just to inspire us to go through the original and keep referring it so that it helps us in our spiritual journeys. So this is represented in this way. It's from the yogic psychology, a wonderful knowledge which gives the relationship of the vrittis, kleshas, vikshepas, vignas, and the solution for it. If it gives it's very much detailed, and the content of these self study notes directly is taken from the magazine. The words, the some pictures are just creatively created so to help us understand the concepts more easily, just so that it just benefits. So when we go to to the details, it shows vrittis, which are vibrational patterns. How colorings or mental impurities like kleshas get formed because of the of vibrational patterns. How they then become hardened over time and become like vikshepas, or the obstacles, which then vignas are something that accompany the vikshepas, right? So that's the complete cycle. And if some and we do come across so many vignas and vikshepas, and we'll see what those are in details. But then if we know this whole cycle, I think we'll become more self-conscious and self-aware to see what corrections we need to do in our own lives. Vrittis, they give information about the pramana, which is right knowledge, which has various parts like direct perception, deduction, or inference, and third is the words of the awakened ones who have the knowledge. They also talk about the wrong knowledge, which is viparyaya, and vikalpa is the fantasy or imagination. So there are different types like vikalpa, kalpana, pratibha, bhavana. It gives details about all of this. Details about nidra or deep sleep, and then the different types of sleep, etc. And importance of sleep is wonderfully given. It gives reference of the TED talk. Smriti, memory, how memory is very much essential for our own survival, as well as it also mentions about how memory can also hold us back. So it's extremely very detailed and very insightful. Then it talks about then the references. When you get into the kleshas, it kind of gives you the whole wonderful chain in terms of how ego and desires lead to avidya, which is ignorance, right, which is like veiling, right, and that leads to clinging to life, that is the fear of death, right, abhinivesha. Again, ignorance leads to dvesha, which is aversion or repulsion. Again, ignorance leads to asmita, which is like the mindness or the egoism, like this is mine and I have created, or I am perfect, or things like that. And also again ignorance, which leads to raga, which is attachment or addiction. Again, it also gives a chain in terms of how the mindness or the egoism, right, that causes, that is like identifying with instruments of seeing, like intellect, thinking, mind, sense organs, when we actually identify with something which is not true. Not identifying ourselves with the true self, but identifying with these instruments, right, which leads to likes and dislikes, like, I like this or I don't like this, etc. And the likes and dislikes, respectively leads to, when something that I like, it leads to attraction, something that I don't like, which dislike, it leads to aversions, and this actually causes the samskaras. So it's a beautifully, explained chain in the document. Please go through it in the kleshas. Then when you get into Vikshepas, it gives a huge list and lot of details of all this. It talks about the disease, mental dullness, dilemma, indecision, right? The doubt, confusion that we have, carelessness or haste, indifference, laziness, absence of non-attachment, that is where I'm very attached to things like sensuality, etc., things like that. Then false perception, blindness, not attaining the condition or stage, not being able to attain or retain that particular stage, lack of determination, instability, not retaining the condition. Then Daji has added wonderfully two more things on FOMO, which is fear of missing out, so much relevant in the contemporary world, right? And digital distraction and guilt and shame. Lot of detailed notes are available there, which will help us. When you get into Vignas, it talks about the dukkha, which is like pain, mental, physical, or despair, depression, trembling of body, nervousness, inhalation, exhalation, which is irregular, right? Now, these are what they say that Vignas accompany the Vikshepas. Now, you see this whole cycle, right? The vibrational patterns leads to colorants or the mental impurities, which become hardened with time, becomes Vikshepas, which becomes like obstacles, and then, Vignas accompany the Vikshepars, right? So this is the whole cycle. Now, if I understand this whole cycle, probably I'll be very much, go back to my vrittis probably and see, what should I have the correct knowledge? How should I have the correct knowledge? How should I not have the incorrect knowledge? Probably I'll go back to this aspect and become more conscious, right? That's how I looked at it. So this is the whole picture again for us to understand. The vrittis to kleshas goes to vikshepas and vignas. Now, what's the solution for all of this? Yes, it's like a blessed day when all of us probably got introduced to heartfulness. I got introduced, I think, 1.5 to 2 years ago, and I really feel very blessed and very thankful to divine energy for giving us this gift. And so the picture here, it shows that it's a blessed day when one gets introduced to heartfulness and practice. And when we get into the practice and the 10 maxims, that's what's shown on the tree, right? We follow the 10 maxims religiously, sincerely, and follow the practice like it's prescribed, like Daji also mentions in terms of prescribed medicine. If we follow the right dosages, only then we get benefited. So similarly, all the prescribed instructions and practice, if we follow it properly, and with perseverance and constant remembrance, if we continue to follow that, then we will reach the goal of merging. It's like the water droplet merges with the ocean. That's the example that we heard in some of the sessions which Taji had given. So it's just represented that way, though we should never aim for the goal, but just keep working towards it. And that's what's being described in this picture, depicted in this picture. This is this is just a creative way of depicting the traditional understanding of yoga. The whole details is there in the magazine, and it's very nicely structured. We've just created this in a creative way, just for us to remember it in a different form. That's it. And it talks about how the viveka, vairagya, shatasampati, and mumukshutvam, the sadhana chatushtaya, right? So discernment, detachment, spiritual attainments, and a mumukshutva is to seek the liberation, the feel, the thirst that we need. Now, when you have then it talks about the shatasampati, which is the spiritual attainments. You need these 6 aspects, which is shama, which is like molding or regulation of the mind; dhamma, which is control of senses, which follows automatically when we fix our goal on reality; uparati, which is self-withdrawal, desire-free, different from vairagya, which can also mean aversion from worldly things; titiksha is the state of fortitude, also a state of total satisfaction; Shraddha, which is like the faith and devotion with faith. It's not blind faith, but it's devotion, right? That kind of thing. Then samadhana, which is a state of self settledness to the goal. So that's how the Shata Sampati, like these are the 6 aspects of it. Now, when you go to the further details, if you consider Dhamma, which is control of senses, follows automatically when we fix our goal. Now, that is divided, that kind of has these aspects, which is like, Kshipta, which is like disturbed condition of the mind due to hunger, anger, sorrow or desires, or it could be Muda, which is like condition of the mind including tendencies that cause laziness, indulgence and idleness. Vikshipta, which is like the tendency which drives the mind away from the sacred thoughts and brings irrelevant ideas during meditation. Ekagravritti, which is tendency to fix our attention on one thing at a time, and Niruddha, which is like tendency which brings the mind to state of perfect self-control, free of all complexity and perturbation. This is so beautifully, depicted, right? In terms of, probably we could do the cross check of, which state we are in terms of the mind, and then suddenly we become alert and aware of aspects, right? Then if you consider Shama, which is like molding or regulation of the mind, it has these parts like, Abhyasa, which is like Pravritti path, which is stilling of the mental tendencies through Ashtanga Yoga, or the Vairagya, which is like the Nivritti path, which is renunciation. Now, when you consider the Pravritti Marg, or this aspect, it has these various things which are depicted in yellow, which is like Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, right? Yama is good conduct, Niyama is regularity, observation, Asana is the posture, Pranayama is the breath regulation, Pratyahara is inner withdrawal, Dharana is mental focus, Dhyana is meditation, and Samadhi is the original condition or balance. Again, they present this in 3 aspects. The Samadhi, which is like stone-like condition or consciousness within an unconscious state, and the third aspect is the Sahaj Samadhi, right? And when you consider Yama, or the good conduct, you have these parts, which is Ahimsa, non-violence, Satya, which is truthfulness, Asteya, which is honesty, Brahmacharya, which is celibacy, and aparigraha, which is like non-possessiveness. And when you get to niyama, which is regularity in observation, there are these parts, which is purity, santosh is contentment, tapas is penance, swadhyaya is self-study, right, and ishvara pranidhan, which is like surrendering to God. So that's where this is so wonderful, insightful knowledge, and if we understand this, we really understand the true understanding of yoga. This will require a lot of study and rereading probably, and definitely the practice that is prescribed by Heartfulness. I think it becomes very, it will start evolving, the knowledge will start gaining. Then there are certain small notes which are taken. These are directly taken from the magazine, and there's immense lot of wealth of information available there, but then these are some things which just noted down, which is like humility, insignificance and innocence. It's the main things that's required for discipline of yoga. In Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it talks about the 1.1, which is like Atha Yoga Anushasanam, which is like now after prior preparation comes the discipline of yoga. And 1.2, it talks about Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which is like yoga is the cessation of all modifications of the mind in the field of consciousness. That's so powerful, isn't it? And in yoga, they mention that we do 2 things. One is turn the attention inwards to stillness, and second is refine the focus and type of outward activity so that our thoughts and activities are conducive to evolution, happiness and balance. And they consider yoga is skill in action. Some other small notes which is like on related to avidya is like, if I consider myself, avidya is like mistaking temporal to be eternal, impure to be pure, painful to be pleasurable, or the lower self to be the higher self. So it kind of gives a very nice definition or a concept of what is avidya. And here in some other place they also mention that anything that takes us away from the centeredness is avidya, and anything that aids us towards moving towards our center is vidya. How profound is that? Some other place it's referred as, the atman, which is like atha, which is movement, and man is thinking. uh, Viveka is not only the ability to choose between the right and the wrong, but also between right and the right. Right. The very good detailed information is there available in terms of how to remove guilt and shame. Quick summary is like, we need commitment of a very high order, cooperation at every level, self-compassion, self-acceptance, courage, and need to open up and let go. And that's how, that's kind of wonderful tips of how to remove guilt and shame. This is something very beautiful, which says that anything that annoys us in another person is what we need to work upon in ourselves. Without noble character, spiritual progress is of no use. Then about spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is all about refinement, removing negative tendencies, and cultivating noble qualities. It is about becoming God-like every day. It's all about becoming the best we can possibly be, and then unbecoming, removing every unconceivable obstacle to oneness with the ultimate. Uh, this is very good in terms of, am I an observer or am I a witness, right? So when I'm mind into this mind consciousness, I'm actually an observer. And if I'm soul conscious, then, I'm like a witness. It's very powerful. Um, this is also very powerful, which talks about swabhav, right? And we move away from our swabhav either because of abhav, which is like the lack of things, or because of prabhav, which is overwhelming impressions. Um, Desires related to the heart region, and ego is related to the mind region. These are so powerful and profound. um, this is very beautiful, and if we keep reminding ourselves of this, I think it'll help us. And this is what is referred there is in the book, that meditation is the mother of constant remembrance. Remain in connection with our center. Um, Again, certain points from the book, which is like, ensure you conserve your energy, don't dissipate it. If we keep reminding ourselves, probably we'll ensure that we do not spend our times in areas where our energy is not really is actually wasted, and we can focus on how do we conserve that. This is beautiful in terms of the heartfulness practice, and it talks about heart is our barometer. Listen to the heart, ask questions to heart in such a way that we get clear indications. The more we listen, clearer the message becomes. And third point to mention is to have the courage to follow the heart's guidance, allowing the soul to guide our lives. So this is what Daji mentioned in the article and in the book, that it's given like this. Consciousness is pacified by cultivating attitudes of friendship towards everyone, mercy and compassion towards those who are suffering, joy towards those who are virtuous, and indifference towards those who are evil. I think will be very powerful to check, whether I'm behaving in this way or not. And the last one is very profound again. A meditative mind is always compassionate. A compassionate heart gives birth to finer qualities like cheerfulness and friendliness, and such a heart avoids making judgments and remains indifferent towards wickedness, evil, and badness. This will always is a very great reminder for ourselves if we start making judgments about anything, and it's extremely powerful. So this is actually whatever was read is actually depicted in this way, all the key points, right? And there's immense amount of wealth, and we could go through the hard copy, or you could go through the article, which is the original article, which is present. Daji's article is present in this particular site. Um, very grateful to Heartfulness, masters, Daji, and the whole Heartfulness family for giving us such a beautiful practice for humanity. Thanks. Happy spiritual journey.